What's going on, everyone? I just wanted to stop by real quick before this podcast starts and say you should like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow me on all my social medias at John D. Clouser. It's literally the same name as the name that you subscribe to on this YouTube channel. So enjoy this clip, and I'll see you guys on the other side.
Welcome to The John Show with your host, John Doogie Clouser.
All right. What is going on, guys? How are you? We are here on a new episode of The John Show. I am, your host, John D. Clouser. Before I started this podcast, I was like, you know what, John? You haven't done something in a really long time. And the thing is, I haven't sipped on some tequila in a long time. So what I love to do, if I don't drink Bush, because, we've discussed this on several occasions on this podcast, that Bush Light or Bush, either one, I tell you the truth, I couldn't tell you which one it is. It could be both of them. I'm assuming just Bush across the board, but Bush is for cowboys. Only cowboys drink Bush. So the thing is, when I don't drink that, I love drinking tequila. It's like the only thing. It used to be gin and Coke when I was like I would say in my early 20s, when I really started drinking heavily or a lot and going out. But the thing is, like, even when I was younger, I was living in Los Angeles. So, like, I didn't want to drink a lot because I was like, okay, dude, I'm living in LA. I don't want to deal with, like, the court system because there's so many people. So, like, they're not going to give a really... I just felt like it was going to be a big hassle if I ever got in trouble majorly in Los Angeles, which is crazy. We'll put, like, I will tell you what... Like, I'll tell you a story. After the story, I'll tell you a time when when I first moved to Los Angeles and I got in trouble. It's really a funny story. But, so I didn't want to do with any of that, so I never drank that much. So, but when I did, whenever I knew I was going to get a taxi, or I knew like somebody I knew was going to get the taxi or get an Uber, because I was in the age where Uber was first started coming out, but people were still kind of weary about it because they were, especially in Los Angeles, like they would want to use it, but it's like, oh, do I really want a stranger to drive me? Like, oh. But anyway, all it really ended up being was just like Arabs, and so it was like, okay, yeah, I'm very familiar with this because my family would always travel to the Middle East. Like, we traveled to the Middle East more than any place. We would actually two places. We had a vacation house in Hawaii, which sounds a lot crazier than when I like saying it than it was. So it was like a 3-story house. It was crazy. You walked into it, the kitchen, then like the next level was all the bedrooms, and then top level was the house, was like the living room and the whole entertainment area. It was a very interesting layout, but my parents bought it for, I think it was like, they bought it for $89,000 in a development that was like the third house, and then it blew up. And the thing, they sold it for like $500K. It was intense. It was crazy. My parents really did a crazy flip on it, but they kept it for a long time. They added like 2 bedrooms and 3 baths. They made it a big fucking house. So, but the thing is, like, guess who got to deal with that? Who never got to reap the rewards of having all that? Me. I was growing up going to Hawaii. My family was like, oh, like everyone was like, oh, it must be so much fun. You're going to go to Hawaii and you're going to get to travel there. And I'm like, no, not really, because I'm going to work on a house. I get to work on the house that my parents were building. So when they retire, they can just chill the fuck out there. And guess what happened? The pandemic happened, and they were like, adios, going to Hawaii. Aloha, motherfuckers. They were gone. So, but when I was living in Los Angeles, I never really wanted to drink that much because I was just out of town, and I was in LA and I was going to college. I just didn't want to have to deal with that. Cause I'm like, the reason why I was living in Los Angeles was for school. And the key thing was for film. And I didn't really want to do anything that would possibly jeopardize that. Like, I couldn't tell you, maybe twice I drank when I drank, and then like I drove more than I should have. I shouldn't have driven as intoxicated as I was at that time. But every other time I just smoked pot. That's all I did. But So, and one of the times was like, so it was funny because one of the times I had to pee so bad that I had a bottle in my car, and I peed into a bottle. It was like a jug, like a big old water jug, a gallon jug, and I just peed into that. It was intense, and then I got pee all over my pants, and they were work pants. So like I was going, and at that time I was working at Abercrombie and Fitch, so I was going the next day because I only got like 3 hours of sleep, and I was wearing like pee covered jeans to my job, which was awesome. That was a fun thing to get. I got to go do. But I was like, usually at those times, like I never really got super embarrassed by it. I was more of looking at it, it's like this is a story. I'm a filmmaker. You're here in Los Angeles to be a filmmaker, to go to film school. So this is just a little thing that you'll have and that you'll be able to hold on to. And like it was the thing that it kills me, like living in there. And like, I wasn't able to take a little bit more advantage of like this part of it. If I was more not as a pussy, if I wasn't such a pussy back then, I would be able to go on stage and I would have done like stand up. I would have probably, because where I lived, I was living on, the last year I was living there, I was on Sunset and Fairfax, which was right up the hill. Because there's a Rite Aid right across the street, but right up the hill was the Comedy Store. So it was like, it would have been perfect. Yeah, I would have had to pay, and I'd have done a lot of shitty work, or done my rounds, but it would eventually have been cool. But I was like so fascinated by film, and granted, I was heavily into film, but sometimes I really wish I would have done that as well. I think that it would have only helped me with my writing and my filmmaking abilities. But yeah, so yeah, I never wanted to drink that much. And so I usually just drank gin and tonic. That all led back to just talking about alcohol. Do you understand how far we went out and we just came right back in? And guys, that entire time I did not mess up. Maybe I need to drink more tequila before every podcast. Maybe that should be the whole key. Maybe that is all that it takes. Because, I'm Latino. And so, like, this is just water for me. And you put it on the rocks, like, because I have these like special ice cubes that are like this big and they're like squares, like it's almost 3D looking. It's really cool. And but yeah, like I was just like, I'm like, you know what, John, you should do this. You never do anything like this. You never do anything crazy like this. You're always like, John, let's get this podcast done. Let's sit here. You have a list of things to talk about. Let's go through them. Let's do it. But I'm like, fuck this. You know why? Because the Chiefs lost, and that really upset me. Like I'm like, I can't. I was watching the whole game, and it's just what happens. Like you play against Tom Brady. Tom Brady does this to people. You shouldn't be surprised at this point that this is what happened. But what can you expect too? Like when you have when your offensive line, your two tackles are injured, and the reason like these people are like, oh, what are the tackles? Like, why are they such a big deal? The thing is, like, they're the most expensive. Your left tackle is the highest paid player on your offensive line. Like, probably your second highest paid player behind your quarterback, because he's the guy that has to keep your quarterback protected at all times. Like, because he's protecting his backside. Because most likely a quarterback is right-handed. Like, there's only been a few, like 2 or 3 left-handed quarterbacks. I'd be like, John, like, why has there only been 2 or 3 left-handed quarterbacks? Because most schemes, most quarterbacks, most offensive coordinators are right-handed, so they set everything up to the right side. I don't know. It's just one of those things that when the NFL, you see it, you're like, okay, right-handed quarterbacks, like left-handed, he's left-handed. Yeah, because I guess it's just harder to like do handoffs, and to tell you the truth, I couldn't tell you fully why it's such a weird thing, but it's just a thing that like most quarterbacks are right-handed guys, and it's like baseball, how like left-handed hitters tend to be way better on base. They get way better on base averages because like they're closer to first base versus a right-handed hitter has to go, I think, like 3 more steps on average, 2.5, 3 steps more. So it's like things like that. It's just like, just through the analytics, they've just seen that like right-handed quarterbacks are way better off than left-handed quarterbacks. It's just how it is. But when you have your left tackle and your right tackle like injured. Your right tackle, because he went to, I believe he was the one that is in Canada right now fighting COVID. And then your right, like at the end of the Bills game, your left tackle Fisher tore his Achilles, and so he was done for the season. So like it's just, what do you do? Like, you just have these guys that have never been up here, and like, they're really, for the most part, the Chiefs were able this whole season to be able to kind of bullshit their way through it. And they kind of realized, I think they kind of knew that, like, for the most part, they didn't have to really turn it on until playoffs. And, for the most part, like, they're going to kick ass and take names and get that first round bye. So, like, they're going to be able to have a little bit more fresher legs going into the playoffs. But, again, like, I saw the whole season, their defense, but their defense has always been very questionable. Even when last season, and they get all these players, but it's just, I don't know why. That's always been the Achilles heel. And then your secondary, the Chiefs secondary has always been awful. Even when they had like Trent Green, and they had Priest Holmes, and they had Wolford, and they had, I think Waters was another guy they had. They had a bomb ass team, and they were like 14, and they went like 14-0. And people were like, "Oh, are these going to be is this going to be the team? Is this going to be the team that wins it? That's going to go undefeated and break the Dolphins' undefeated season? Is this going to be it?" And the thing is, like, the secondary. Even then, I was watching them back then. I'm like, dude, the secondary is going to They had Flowers. I believe they had Barry. Barry was a rookie or second year. And the thing is, like, what's also funny about this is, like, if I were to dedicate my life to anything, I memorize all sports stuff, weirdest sports shit. Like, even last week, it was weird because I was talking to Aaron, and we were doing the Aaron and John show, which you should also check out after this episode. But we were talking, and he was talking about how he's like a Brian Leftwich jersey. I'm like, oh yeah, didn't he was the Jaguars? Just randomly, I know that he was like, I think 2000 and Brian, I think 7 or 6, one of those 2 years, because I was still in high school, and it was just weird, like, how I can remember things like that. And if I were to dedicate my life to anything else, dude, I could be a fucking doctor who cured COVID. I could be one of these people. I could be splitting atoms right now. Instead, I'm talking to you on the third floor of a mansion. What's so funny? I think it's this tequila that got into me. It's so funny. Whenever I drink tequila, because like it really is now, the older I get, it really is like, if I'm going to drink like a liquor, it's going to be tequila. And a lot of people are like, John, why do you say it like that? It's like, 'cause I'm Latin, so I can say it. I don't look it. I am it. It's so funny, if you haven't noticed, like, I took down the Honduran flag, which is sad a little bit, because I had to make room for all this, and I have more paper, but I just want to, like, I'm like, I only want to do a section, because I want it to look more like there's a reason behind it, because it's a backdrop versus just like having it up on the wall for a reason. Because I really do feel like I'm riding this line right now where, like, I'm going to look psycho versus looking like, oh, he's just being artistic and he's just trying a new backdrop. Because that's really what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to see if it looks different, or if it looks cool. I don't know. For, like, what I want to do, it's different for sure. And, like, because, like, I want to be able to do, like, different things. Like, by just changing the back here, I have this little desk area, and it has a bunch of stuff. So, like, that's going to be for the Aaron and John show. I take this whole, and then it's going to be just like a backdrop, an additional thing to cause separation from the actual newspaper that's hanging on the wall now. But it separates that from that. So when I do this show, but then when I do Burst Your Bubble with Aaron, I'm going to take that out and I want to put a fern right behind him, and then have a chair in front of the fern. And then I just bought a bunch of brand new film equipment, which was actually, dude, I'm fucking killing it by doing these little transitions into, like, every situation, every story, this podcast. Like, dude, so ever since that girl that I dated told me that my podcast was dry, I'm like, oh, dude, you want to know what dry is? You need to sit the fuck down, and I'll show you what dry is. And so I've been like, okay, this is what we're doing now. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to hammer the shit out of this. I'm going to become the Tom Brady of these goddamn podcasts. Like, I'm just like, you know what, dude, if we learned anything from last night, anything is possible. Tom Brady has goddamn 7 Super Bowl rings. If Tom Brady, have you ever seen his goddamn, like, his shirtless picture from the combines? If that man can get 7 Super Bowl rings, then I can do this film shit. That's easy. Okay, I know I can do it. So that's it. If I learned anything from that Super Bowl game, it was that. But guys, so I'm trying to do all these like different things. So I got all this new film equipment. So with Aaron's stuff, he's gonna have I got a new shotgun mic. So I think it's about like a 16-inch shotgun mic. And then I got a boom pole, and it's I believe a 7. It maxes out at 7 foot long, and then it has a cord that's inside it. So it has I was thinking about I need to buy. I'm like, well, fuck, because when you buy that, you need to buy the microphone, you need to buy the cord, and then you need to buy the boom pole. And the boom pole is just basically a pole that stretches out, but it's for your sound, your microphone, so you can lower it down and you have more control over it. So it's almost equivalent of doing this little thing that you see on here. So imagine basically this, and your subject's down here, and this microphone is hanging down below it. It's pretty much exactly what it is. It's the exact same thing, but just a bigger thing. And then I bought a C stand, which I'm so excited about, guys. So as a filmmaker, there's small little things that you buy that represents the growth of what you're doing. And I've never needed to buy a C stand, but now I'm like, John, you need a boom pole. You need a C-stand to go up high, hold that boom pole over to hold that shotgun mic, because you're doing basically I'm doing an interview style setup with him. So that is that thing. And then tonight when I'm like setting up, I'm like, dude, I have all these lights. You know what I need to do? I need to invest in some new lights, because you've clearly been doing this John, you've been doing this for years. So at this point in your life, it's worth the investment, because you've shown you're going to get your return investment. So like my whole thing is like, I don't like to spend a lot of money on stuff, or I'll wait to spend the money on really high end like equipment. I'll wait some time, and I'll especially, two, to save up, but two is to show like, I'm like, okay, do I really need this thing? Can I find another way to do this? Yes. Is it like this much more work? Yeah. But is it saving me $300, $400? That's the question. And the thing is, like, for the most part, sometimes it's been saving me time. And really, honestly, last week I shot with like this in the shot. It was like basically this arm jib, and it was, sitting away from Aaron doing his show. And it was fine, and the audio's completely fine. But the thing is, I want it up and over, and I wanted him to be able to be more free, be able to move around with him without him having to worry about having any objects in front of him. And it's that little thing that might make the show much better. And we know we do a different we know we're doing a backdrop, and with doing the backdrop, like, we're just trying to make it look different. And I'm just doing different things. And the thing is, but the big thing is that I'm super excited about is like, I'm doing so much more stuff. And I'm like, I don't know when this pandemic's going to end, but I realize, like, you know what? I think it's at this point, I'm going to invest in myself, and I'm going to get all this new film equipment, and I have access to a bunch of new studios, which I need to start doing more vlogs. If I start doing more vlogs, then it'll definitely make more content as well, but it'll force me to make more content within more content. It's like a twofer. It's a weird thing. When you make a vlog, you have to actually then have subject matter for the vlog, so you have to make more stuff for the vlog, which I'm going to have a bunch of podcasts, 3 different podcasts myself, Aaron and John Show, Cool Baby, Burst Your Bubble, which is just basically like a little mini series, like the thing is, it's so easy to make that those shows. We're gonna kind of go into some film talk here, but it's literally so easy for me as a production, like a filmmaker, you can call me a producer, you can call me a director. I don't know, like, Aaron calls me the producer. So I guess because I have all the production equipment, if we didn't have that, we wouldn't be able to make a production. So I guess I am the producer because I basically produce it and bust it out. I think it's a pretentious title, but that's just because like I'm just like enjoying the shit out of doing it. It's just so much fun for me. Like I figure my mindset has always been like, I'm like, if I just enjoy it and you just do it because you love the fuck out of it, then people are going to see that and they're going to want to work with you more versus like trying to hustle and like make money off of it. Because then, like, I feel like, I don't know, I've never done film to get money. Like the last thing I was like, yeah, it'd be cool to become a Hollywood movie director and, make multi-millions on a film, but even when you do that, you don't really make much on a Hollywood film. You don't, because like you spend a lot of the money on trying to make it, and then you just like get a little trinklet at the very end, which is fine. I'm not saying that's not a bad thing, but because you get your name on this big thing, and people think that you're bigger than what you are. You're not really anything, because most of the time, I don't know if people understand, like most filmmakers think they're piles of shit because like you have all this stuff and all this money to make this thing, and like you're really at the end of it, like you're just left with like the thing instead of like money or anything else, and which is fine because like I can only speak for myself on this part of the thing. I don't do it for money. I don't make a project. I don't make any of this to make money or to like any of that. I make it because it makes me feel good to make something, one, and then two, like to see somebody maybe watch it. Like it's cool to see a little number like jump up every week. It's cool to see a number be the same every week. It's fine by me. That's completely fine by me. And I don't know, I figured like the more I do it, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna kill people by just doing stuff. I've never looked at myself as being the person who's going to pop by making something that everyone's going to want and everyone's going to want to deal. They're going to trickle in, trickle out, trickle in, trickle out. And that's how I've always figured my art is always going to be. That's how it's always going to, it is. It's just like, I'm going to just kill you by the fact that I'm just consistently here over and over and over and over. So like the next step now is like, it's make or break it time now. And that's honestly how I feel as a filmmaker, where I need to start doing like mini docs. I need to start doing more mini short films. But by having this more audio equipment, and now I've gathered a team together, and now we have more access to studios because like they're doing projects as well, and we have that ability to like just the fact that we're like just a coherent unit, honestly. And we sit down and we have meetings and we think of like. We brainstorm ideas, and we're doing consistently on a week in, week out, week in, week out, week in, week out. And we're just killing it. And so now it's like we need to start doing more of that stuff. And like we have like a production truck. it's insane. Like we're slowly growing into this little thing, and I don't think what we really even realize what we're doing. We're just kind of like just doing it because we want to make projects. And we just want to, we're just kind of like, well, we're going to invest into ourselves. And like, the funny thing is like, I'm working with like two comedians, and like with comedians, you have to have more of a sense of like, I'm the shit because I'm the funniest person in the room, which is like something a filmmaker does not have. I have no sense of fucking self-esteem. The only self-esteem I get is through like just making stuff over and over and over and over again and just producing it. And so like, I'm like, dude, like, just guys, if you come over and we sit down, I have the film equipment. I'm basically like, I feel like I'm a weird field of dreams. I'm like basically, John, if you get a bunch of film equipment, people will come and help you, like will want to do stuff with you. And that's basically what it is. And I found two other people that want to do other stuff. And like, I realized, and I keep on hearing on these podcasts, is like, you have to have a team. It's completely impossible to do it by yourself as a one-man crew, because you have to have other people that will eventually help you do something. And it is, and it's also helped me a lot as being a director to being like, hey, Aaron, I need you to help me with this, or hey, Dayton, I need you to help me with that. And we can it's so crazy. Like we can build up a set, break it down, and it takes us like 20 minutes versus like when I do it myself, it takes me like 3 hours. It's insane. Because like tonight when I was setting up all my lights by myself, I was like, damn, this is so much harder when I don't have Aaron and I don't have Dayton. Like when I have them, like I can be setting up the camera, having one do the camera having to do the lights. Another one sitting down being like the subject matter, so I can like get the light, like the camera and everything adjusted like within moments. Like, okay, well, there's a shadow there. Let's take this light, move it over to here. Let's take this, move it over there. We're done. Lighting is done. Then we do the sound. Boom. And that's what I'm super excited about with having this like new shotgun mic. And then we're gonna have the C stands, and like the next thing I'm gonna invest in. I'm gonna probably invest in like $200 worth of lights, which will be awesome, because what's gonna happen is like I have a bunch of clamp lights. I couldn't tell you, probably well over like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, maybe 20 clamp lights, almost 20 clamp lights. I'm going to, whatever I have, if I only have like 17 or something like that, I'm going to boost it up to 20, spend a couple dollars on that, then buy some big, just bright lights that are going to set up high. And they're just going to be basically big old fill lights that are going to hit the back, and everything else is going to be just used as like, basically as in just anywhere else that has any weak spots. And it's going to be a good time, and I'm super excited. And you guys are going to be here to see it. I feel like I'm one of those YouTubers now, and I'm not even doing it with like that, since I'm just like, I'm literally just sitting here documenting my own life. And like sometimes I'm like, John, like, it's like 11:30. Even though it's not, it's like almost 11 o'clock, but p.m. on February 8th, the shortest month, and Black History Month. Isn't that so great? That is the shortest month. At least you guys get a full month. Latinos don't get a full month. We get half of one month and half of another month. So at least you get a full month. It's the shortest month, but at least you get a full of the shortest. So it's like you get a full pie, but it's just literally the smallest pie. America. But yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait, because like all of the, what, this is the funny thing about like all this equipment that I bought. So I spent the extra money so I could have it delivered on Monday. But the thing is, like, one, it snowed here, which definitely is going to affect like shipping and things. Like if the trash company doesn't want to come and deal with the snow, like they're not going to, like, shipping is like that. It's going to take a little bit longer too. So I'm expecting it to get here by probably like Wednesday. I'm lucky. I'm thinking by Wednesday morning. But I spent the extra money for the shipping and handling, because I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, dude. Like, this is stuff you're investing in yourself. This is something that you care about yourself. You don't spend your money on anything else, really, like food. But you buy some food, some like ground beef and rice, and then you cook it for the week, and then you're good. And then you just do that over and over again. And then gas, like $20 in your car for gas every week. Like, it's like you budget everything out. So I think you can afford to spend like $250 on like lights, or like $250 on, well, I spent more like $400 on all this sound equipment, because I knew I needed to boost up my sound equipment, because it needs to be like, my camera stuff was like here, and then my my sound equipment was here, so it needed to go up here. Because it was up here for like the podcast, but it needed to be here for like my actual film production stuff. But the thing is, like, then I get this, and I get my lights. These are only going to be things that require me to spend more time and make myself better. And I think that's really what this podcast was about. Like, I need to talk more about my feelings. The one thing I wanted to talk about, and I remember I wrote my notes, is like, talk about your feelings. And I was like, what? Even before I started the podcast, I started talking shit on myself, saying like, what the fuck does that even mean, John? Like, that was the most vaguest thing, the most vague thing you could ever say. And so, but yeah, so we're here. Like, I have like 30 seconds left. So if you've gotten this far, guys, in this dry ass podcast, that's what I'm gonna start calling it, this dry ass podcast, because of that beautiful woman. God, she's such a beautiful black woman. 5'11", she was an ex-volleyball player, collegiate, Division I, big old butt, dude. She was gorgeous and just a beautiful woman. And I was an asshole. I was a huge fucking ass. So what she said about me in my podcast was completely true. Like, and like, I deserved it. I deserved to hear that. And with that bell, you guys know that this podcast is about to be over. But yeah, she was a beautiful woman. All right, guys. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys later. I love you. Bye.